I just remember thinking, is this normal?
Yeah.
You know, because I was the first time dad. I'm like, do kids just do this? Is this just his age? Or is there something more going on here? How we doing, guys? Welcome back to the Arrows podcast. My name is Jeremiah. This is my wife, Monica. We're kind of going through our personal testimony and through the different stages of relationships. And today we are on new routines and transition. So You've come out of the honeymoon, but now you're back to real life.
Reality set in.
We have a new house. The kids have a new dad. They're going to a new school and a new church. It's a lot of new at one time.
Yes.
What's the best way to handle something new?
That's such a good question.
I caught you off guard with that one. As you're establishing new routines, it's going to be tough. And I think it's tough on everybody, but I think especially for the kids.
Yeah.
We really saw, on the kids, it's like, man, everything's new. And so they're trying to adapt. We're trying to adapt. And specifically for our youngest, Jaden, who's 7 at the time and would become 8 through the process. Like the first 6 months, it really felt like he had a meltdown almost every day, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. Like you said, like it's a new dad in the house. We were living in a new house. They were coming out of a season of homeschool into their first year of public school. It's actually for Jaden, it was the first year he'd ever been in a traditional school setting.
Public school, yeah. So huge difference.
Yeah, so it was a lot. And change is good. Obviously, like the new church was a change too, but like everything was a good change. Yeah. But change is still hard even when it's good. Yeah. So it's an adjustment. And it's an adjustment for us. So like imagine what an adjustment it is for this little person with big emotions.
Yeah. And we just have to, got to give yourself grace and give these little kids grace. I think for Jaden, it was like anytime we tried to end an activity, he just couldn't do it. A lot of times it would have been like, we're having fun playing basketball in the basement. It'd be like, okay, we have 30 minutes to do this activity. And you would give him like every 5 minutes, you would tell him, okay, 25 minutes left, 20 minutes left. And then it'd come down 5 minutes left. And he understood, like, you understand that we're going to end in 5 minutes, right? Okay, let's do a few more and we'll do it. But then, of course, it would come to the timer being off, and either Seth and Jaden would ask for more time, which they're notorious for asking for 5 more minutes, which is okay. We have that kind of built in to say you can ask for more time if you really want it. But Jaden would just melt down, and I feel like just throw himself on the floor and whine and cry. And I felt like it was just an over-exaggeration of kind of what was going on in his heart. I know it seems like that's his love language, is that type of connection. Yeah. He's not the type of kid to want to express his feelings and have a heart-to-heart with you all the time. He kind of gets quiet in those moments or uses humor or silliness to get through the hard conversations. But playing ball with him, with his stepdad or mom or brother is very connecting for him. Yeah. He could do that all night. And so he never wanted to end that activity. But it was really hard for the first 5 or 6 months. And I just remember thinking, is this normal? Yeah. Because I was the first time dad. I'm like, do kids just do this? Is this just his age? Or is there something more going on here? Is there something wrong? Or this is a little bit extra? And I do remember Manna. One time we went over to movie night at their dad's grandma's house. They call her Manna. And Jaden, was like, we were about to watch a movie and Jaden was playing a game, and then he had to end that activity in the game to watch the movie. And Jaden knew that he had to end his game, and that just like wrecked him. And so he ended up going upstairs and was, wailing and crying. And Meta was like, Jeremiah, I really feel like this is all for you. Like this is like a show for you, or he's doing this just for you. And so me, of course, being new, I just didn't know. I was like, is this normal? Does this happen every day? And it was good to hear from someone who knows Jaden really well to say that this is not normal. I think this is, it's because you're here that he's kind of acting out in a way. And which he probably didn't fully understand. I'm sure as an 8-year-old, you'll understand why you're doing those things. He might not ever remember that those things happen. That day, I barely remember now. So do you remember that day?
No. That's why I was like, I don't remember.
Yeah, he was like screaming, crying in the upstairs room. I went up to like try to help you and console him, but he just wasn't having it. Yeah. I think eventually we got him to calm down, and we always do. But that was just a little bit of taste. I think it was before we were married, but
it might have been, yeah.
I think it was. It was just a little taste of the things to come, but luckily it only lasted for 5 or 6 months. But One thing that really helped us was the boys' dad went away for an extended period of time, which was the first time that he had ever done that. Moved away for about 6 months. And so instead of doing mom's days and dad's days on the weekend, we had the boys full time, which is more responsibility and a little bit more on our plate for us.
Yeah.
But it also allows us to establish consistency, which we know is really good for kids in general.
Yeah.
When kids have consistency, they thrive within it because they know what to expect. And I know for me, like my relationship with Jaden had skyrocketed in that time.
Yeah.
And with Seth too. And it really showed. Family members started to see like Jaden's very different. And obviously you and Jaden have developed a very strong relationship. And we did. And we still benefit from that time today.
Yeah.
You know, they say that kids spell love Time. So that extended time that we had together was very connecting and bonding for Jaden and Seth. And was really good.
Yeah.
Did you notice the difference after their dad went away?
I think so. It just gave us opportunity to like bond together as the four of us.
Sure.
But also, like you said, like setting up routines, consistency. Transition is hard as a blended family. Transition days are hard when we get them back from dad's. We try to, really focus on connection. I've heard people talk about it's like jet lag, like it's like a jet lag feeling, like we're trying to grab our footing. Even if both households are secure and happy and healthy and loving, you're still going back to a house with different personalities and different rules and different vibe, structures. Yeah. So you're trying to like get your footing back. And so giving us the opportunity to like have that extended amount of time of just setting up the vision for our family and routines and, getting on a good like schedule, bedtime routines, all of that. Really helped us just kind of lay that foundation. Yeah. Really.
Yeah, we know. So she's speaking about transition time and blended families. I'm sure you guys can comment to know when you get your kids back from the other parent's household, there's a period of transition where they the kids usually get upset, sometimes for no reason. And they're just kind of getting back in the groove of what it's like at mom's house. It's really helpful to know that as a parent, to know that there's going to be some transition, give myself more grace, have, double my patience during that time. And so, because you don't want to go into it blindly because you'll get blindsided. Yeah. And it's also a great time to do family meetings, which we've had a lot of success with family meetings. Yeah. That's a great time to call the kids higher and maybe call out some things of like, hey, we could all be doing better in this area as a family. Or, hey, mom seems to be doing a lot and she's really worn out. How can the three of us boys help mom during the week? Maybe like one thing that worked really well during the summer was we would do cleaning on Saturday morning. As soon as we were done with cleaning, they would get a reward, which was often going tubing on the lake at Mimi and Papa's house. Yeah. So getting to go to grandparents' house and play with the dogs and swim in the lake, go tubing on the boat. Yeah. That's a huge reward. And so we would set like a 30-minute timer and we would pull chores out of a hat. Like someone vacuums the basement and someone cleans their room and someone cleans the windows. Yeah. And we would all do chores and the house was like spotless in 30 minutes, which was amazing. Then you go out on the lake and have a ton of fun and you come back to a clean house. That was all kind of birthed out of family meetings. Yeah. And Seth's idea was to do a spin wheel or pull out of a hat. Yeah. Pull out of a hat was better because we had a little issue with the spin wheel.
Well, the spin wheel, we gave the option of somebody had no chore.
Yeah. Seth was like, that was a bad idea. You're the jackpot. This little sliver of the spin wheel was like, you don't get to do any, you don't have to do anything. And Seth hit it. So of course Jaden was mad about that. Yeah. And Jaden was trying to say that it was on the, Jaden was like, it was on the line. You didn't actually hit it, but it definitely hit it. But
so trial and error.
Yeah. It was a little trial and error, but the pulling out of a hat is like, it is what it is. You got the chore you got, but we said you could trade. So if like I got a chore I didn't like and she got a chore I didn't like, but we would prefer each other's, you could trade one time. Yeah. And so we did that. Ultimately, the goal is to get the house clean, to work for your reward. Yeah. We want the kids to work and earn the rewards. That's the main goal. So however you get there, you do you and figure out the best way to do it. Yeah.
And family meetings, we haven't had one in a while, actually.
We need to have one. We've planned to.
Yeah, we said we were going to when we got after Christmas break. But
yeah, we need to. It's February now.
Yeah.
We will.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. It's easy to have them. Yeah. And the kids now know that we're going to have them and they don't go, oh, family meeting. I guess I have to drag myself to it.
Right.
We make it fun. Like, I'm like, yeah, family. Like, we make it like, hey, we're going to have a family meeting. And that's a good thing. Like, my energy surrounding the moment is like, yeah, come on, let's have a family meeting.
Yeah.
And we'll do like pass around the brush and like whoever's holding the candlestick gets to talk.
Yeah.
And then we'll get that, let everybody have a chance.
Everybody gets a chance to say, everybody gets to, we really, really involve the children in what we're doing and what we're talking about. And Jeremiah and I might talk about like, this is what we want to talk about, set expectations or reestablish, things. I know like on our fridge, we have like our little like who we are. So it says like we are, oh gosh, no, I'm not gonna remember that. We are honoring, generous,
brave,
loving. There's one more, but he doesn't know. He doesn't know our family values. I wrote them down.
Honoring, generous, and kind.
Yeah. We're honoring, generous, kind, and loving.
Yeah.
So that is kind of like when we do things, when we talk, when we live out our lives, we're living out of that filter.
Yeah.
So, and we did that in a family meeting, but then we can reference that. So like, I don't know, one of my kids said something the other day in the car and I was just like, okay, well, was that honoring? We can kind of bring the conversation back. Like, was that
our standard? Yeah. Yeah. We have a standard as a family.
Yeah. And we did that in our family meeting and we all kind of contribute and talk about it together. It's not like, obviously Jeremiah and I are the leaders.
Yeah.
But it's not like we're like, coming down on them. It's not really it's a time of correction. It's not a time of punishment. It is like a collaborative meeting, I guess.
Yeah, definitely make it collaborative. You want them to leave the meeting saying, my voice was heard.
Yeah.
I have a place in this family. Mm-hmm. I have a decision to help make with the family. Mm-hmm. It's not just like, you be quiet and I'll tell you exactly what you're going to do in the family meeting. Yeah. It's for, connection, not correction. Yeah. And for collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really helps us. And then we can set up like what routines do we need? We had, since being married, we changed our bedtime routine a couple of different times. Our boys were in the same room and then like a little while ago, we separated them. So that required a new routine and stuff. So. Yeah. Yeah.
I think during that time, I had to learn as a stepdad kind of when to speak up and when just to stay quiet and watch because Monica and the two boys really did have their ecosystem and the things that they were used to and their whole routines and things. And of course, we're living in a new house and it's a new situation. But as a new person coming in, I really tried not just to take over, but to just watch and learn and observe. That's probably the word I would use is observe, is observing the kids' behavior. Like, is this normal for that age? And just staying quiet and just gathering information so that when I bring it to Monica, I can say, I said your name funny there. When I bring it to Monica, I can say, I've noticed that, Seth has done this a couple times. Is that normal for him? And is that normal for his age? Or is it something that we need to address? Mm-hmm. I personally kind of realized that it seems like to me, I'm a new time dad, but it feels like there's a little bit of immaturity in the boys that we could call them up higher in some areas. That Monica was doing almost everything for them when there's things that they could be doing themselves, like getting a cup of water out of the fridge. That's totally within their grasp of what they can do. Some things are harder and they don't know how to do it. Tying their shoes. They're old enough to tie their shoes. They just don't know how yet. So just calling them up higher. Yeah. And I feel like dads do that sometimes. And moms are such nurturers that from a single mother household, when you nurture, but you don't call up higher, you can just be a nurse or be a servant to them, which is great. And there's a time to nurse them and love them and comfort them. But there's also a time to call them up higher. Yeah. And so that I felt I was figuring out what's my lane and what's my role. And then not only just that with the kids being a stepdad, and they already have a dad. So understanding I'm not their dad, but I'm their stepdad. And I'm the leader of the house when they're with mom and dad. So it's not just like I'm a stepdad, I'm a secondary. It's like I'm the dad at mom's house. Yeah. And you have a father, he's the leader at their house. you spend the majority of time with us, so I'm your leader. But if I were to get a new job as a CEO at Nike, I wouldn't just come in and change everything.
Yeah.
When you come into a new job, you need to learn, you need to observe, and then say, through my observing time, here's the things that I'm seeing. Are you guys seeing the same thing, or is this normal for you?
Yeah.
I really felt like that helped. That was kind of tough because when you see something you don't like or seems off, you kind of want to just be like, that's not right. Like right away. But those snap judgments could hurt people or offend somebody.
Yeah.
So
especially when it's relationships, because you're getting to know their personalities and how they connect and how they respond to correction and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
And I, as a mom, had to learn to not take offense when you would say something to me about their behavior or how we were operating as a family, and not get offended and be like, oh, I'm sure I got offended. There's times I got offended, but trying to stay, give you grace as a new dad, give the kids grace, give myself grace, and just learning that we're all, figuring this out together, and it's one part of our entire lives that we're building this foundation to build upon,
and for the most part it went really well. It was clunky at times, and but I think when you set out to love people really well, be generous, loving, and kind, it's gonna go well. You're gonna be a little bit rough around the edges, but you can do that. One thing that we did that I thought worked really well was the nighttime routine. I started to notice the nights I would go in and sit with the boys at night for 15 minutes and pray with them and read a book or just hang out and be silly, and then say, okay, I love you, I'm going to bed, versus the nights I didn't do that. It really felt like it was connection versus disconnection. Yeah. When I did that, we felt more connected the next morning. Even things were better the next morning after doing that. Whereas 3 nights in a row where I didn't do that, it felt like we were very disconnected. So I wonder if there's any families out there that had felt the same thing. But nighttime routine happens every night. We all have to go to sleep, so it's a perfect time to kind of get close with your children, love on them a little bit, pray with them, and establish a routine. Because we know kids spell love Time, and they also love consistency. When they know, I know dad's going to put me to sleep every night, I know mom and dad are going to be there, they can relax, and this is their safe space. So do you feel like that? Yeah. I know you've done nighttime routine as for years.
Forever.
Yeah. So it works.
Yeah. And it's changed a lot over the years. Obviously, it's going to look different with our 8 and 10-year-old than it did when they were, 3 and 5 or whatever.
Sure.
But just taking that time, and it could be bedtime, it could be dinner time. We're terrible. We don't eat at the kitchen table. We're all kind of scattered around the house. But it could be you have dinner together, drives, whatever the time is that you guys are together and having quality time, and you can, ask them questions, or they may ask you questions. I know my 10-year-old, he will open up a lot at night and kind of talk about things and talk about things at school, talks about fears or his anxieties and stuff. And that usually happens before bed.
Yeah. And you want to make sure you're there to be a shoulder to lean on, or to open up and field those questions or concerns at night. So we want to hear from you guys. Maybe what's some good routines that you've established that have worked for you if you have kids. I know there's people watching this that have kids or desire to have kids and you want to learn. So drop a line in the comments and let us know what routines are working for you. And it's been a year and a half of marriage. It's going really well. The first 6 months were really tough, but really beautiful at the same time, and God was always with us and still is. And so we continue to strive to be our best as parents, and I feel like it just gets better and better. Yeah. Me too. So as you guys are establishing those new transitions or those new routines, I would say, just give yourself some patience, and these things happen over time. I think people say it takes 21 days to create a habit. So imagine putting your kids to bed for 21 days at a time and doing it every night, praying with them every night. Those 3 weeks right there, and just in that little example, could be years of connection and give you leaps and bounds ahead in the connection category. So thank you guys for watching. That's another episode of the Arrows Podcast. My name is Jeremiah. This is my wife, Monica, and we'll see you guys next time.